Into action there. Doing well under a tiny bit of pressure to prevent the corner. Willock and Smith Rowe combining in central midfield. Ball chipped over the top. Delightful pass from Maitland-Niles. He's freed Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, and that's twice in this game already that David Stevens has shown strong defensive skills, and he needed to.
A wonderful play from Maitland-Niles. Beautiful pass through to Aubameyang. Interesting to see he's getting a bit more of a free role, a bit more of an advanced role, and Joe Willock is the one just holding his position in front of the back four. I think we see Torreira maybe being the first choice in that zone, but Willock's taking a claim.
Smith Rowe. Exchange of passes and great skills from Lacazette. Goes past one defender, beats a second. Here's Aubameyang. Hearty block from Mark. Ricketts putting his body on the line for Boreham Wood. A really good example there. Lacazette and Aubameyang combining very, very healthily.
Lacazette did well. He won the challenge first off, and we're just looking for his teammate, waiting for the right time to play the pass. When he did, Aubameyang maybe wasn't quite on his toes enough, and the chance went begging, but good link-up play.
Good play there from Reece Nelson to just calmly win the ball back and dispossess Angelo Balanta, the Colombian-born winger. Great vision from Willock. Effortless pass it felt to Hector Bellerin. To Willock, seeing plenty of the early ball. Smith Rowe. Young thought about going on another mazy run. Build up from Arsenal as would try to keep their structure and shape and try and press their rivals. That's what they've got to do at this stage of the game, isn't it? Keep it tight.
Yeah, the pattern has really set. Arsenal just camped in the final third, looking for openings. Boreham Wood would look to play on the break.
Boreham Wood are actually into the third game of pre-season. They lost narrowly to a pretty much full-strength Brentford team in their first game. Match was a win over Hitchin on Tuesday. This game 3, Bellerin to Smith Rowe. Brilliant turn from Emile Smith Rowe. He goes down. Calls for the penalty waved away by referee Finney. An inkling of what Smith Rowe can do with the ball at his feet. An injection of pace.
Great feet from Smith Rowe. He didn't claim too vociferously for it. We see it again now. Just danced around one challenge.
Attention.
And it's interesting to see him in the centre because he does tend to play on the left-hand side, so this is a big chance.
Lacazette, way down that left-hand side. Smith Rowe's calling for it, it's behind him. Nelson attacks the space and gets there first. Shot from distance and an absolute beauty. And Arsenal have got their first goal of the Unai Emery era. One quick look. Released a devilish finish into the corner. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is the man who scores it. Boreham Wood 0, Arsenal 1.
Well, he's wasted no time in showing us what he's all about. Wonderful Henry-esque curler into the far corner. Lacazette went over to celebrate and just clapped him. Just applauded his teammate. Wonderful technique. Keeper, no chance, and that nestles into the top corner. What a start.
Aubameyang up and running for the campaign. Emery up and running with his first goal. And crikey, Chris, you think about Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, as we know, unfortunately couldn't play in the Europa League last season. That's all changing. But in the games he could play in, since he signed, pretty much a goal a game, give or take. And I just wonder what this man, with a full season in all competitions that he wishes to be involved in, could achieve.
Well, exactly, and to score 10 goals after coming in January and acclimatising, and a team that wasn't playing particularly well was very, very impressive. We saw flashes of his genius last season, and I think a full pre-season behind him as well. Of course, Gabon didn't go to the World Cup. He's been working very hard in training with all the others. He's going to be fresh, he's going to be hungry. Very exciting for Arsenal.
Super piece of skill there from Ainsley Maitland-Niles. He found himself a little bit sold short and moved the ball beautifully, and here's another chance for a sweeping Arsenal counter-attack. Lacazette to Smith Rowe to Aubameyang, all on one page quite brilliantly. Lacazette back to Nelson. Tries to feed through the 1-2. Still Lacazette goes. Fine block. Hill for a handball there. Did appear to be outstretched and maybe brushed the bottom part of the shoulder. Half appeal. Wonderful piece of skill. And an absolutely brilliant second goal. It's another goal from Aubameyang and made in quite scintillating fashion down the right-hand side with a super run from Ainsley Maitland-Niles. What a goal. Boreham Wood 0, Arsenal 2.
Well, that goal was all about Maitland-Niles. Interplay with Reece Nelson, and then he just danced past one player. Very confident play from Maitland-Niles. Looked up, picked out his teammate Aubameyang coming in the far post. He won't miss those. Very, very simple for Arsenal.
Craig Ross in the Boreham Wood goal is just coming into the club from Barnet. What a baptism of fire.
Well, at times in the last 5 minutes they've been defending with about 8 or 9 men in the box. It's been that much of a rearguard action from Boreham Wood.
Brilliant stuff. Already from Arsenal, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Can he get a hat-trick in his 45 minutes? You'd think. Barely 10 minutes on the clock. He's got a very, very good chance with 2 to his name. Gunners 2 to the good. Maitland-Niles again. Snaffling the ball from Kieran Murtagh, who gave it away. Here's young Jordi Osei Tutu. It's impressive at under-23 level. For Arsenal last season, after making the breakthrough from the under-18s, still only 19 years old.
He was signed back in 2015, having impressed playing against our under-18s. So spotted on the same pitch as our under-18s. Took a little bit of time to find his feet at Arsenal, but he played particularly well as a wing-back last year for the under-23s.
Arsenal, of course, winning Premier League 2, mightily impressively so. Going all the way to the FA Youth Cup final as well before they lost out to Chelsea over 2 legs. No disgrace there. Predominantly the under-18s team, who also contended deep and almost won their league title as well. Let alone, of course, the European adventure that the Arsenal youngsters went on. It was a great, great season, wasn't it?
It was, and in terms of some of those young players being around the first team, it was very valuable too. For much of the campaign, there were those 2 teams almost running in tandem in the Europa League and the Premier League. And some of those teenage players got a good look at what it was like to be a first-team player.
And they took that into their own respective disciplines when available as well. Now in the far corner, Morgan Ferrier is trying to make something happen. He has scored both of Boreham Wood's 2 goals pre-season so far in that 2-1 loss to Brentford. Be few and far between. Poor pass from Stevens, tried to find Eslam Army, and here come Arsenal with another brilliant run from Reece Nelson. What pace from Nelson, takes his man wide. He's got support now. Ball that really has the referee getting in the way. Curling effort from distance from Joe Willett, didn't quite get hold of that one. Hills for a corner, maybe a slight flick off Nelson Army. The officials having none of it.
That's what Maitland-Niles wants, but he's not going to get what he wants. And credit to Stevens there, he gave the ball away, and he did very, very well to get back and cover the mistake that he made, putting Nelson off balance just enough to make the chance go away.
Well, he's a former Welsh under-21 international, David Stevens. He's got some decent pedigree from 4 or 5 years ago in his career. And by the way, 4 new faces in the Boreham Wood team today and 2 more on the bench, as they look to kick on and, of course, try and get into the Football League. They've kind of speculated to accumulate, and it's worked well in recent times, and on the crest of a wave, but this really is a step up in class in every sense.
It seems that it could be a tougher fixture as the years unfold, really, if they keep climbing up through the leagues, but they've been hit by a very quick Arsenal start here. Arsenal playing like these players know they had 45 minutes to impress, and then it's 11 others are going to get the chance.
Yeah, absolutely. And then with that list of other pre-season games to come, the other list of players to come back into the first team fold as well, it's going to be a fascinating 2 or 3 weeks to see Who makes the nucleus of Unai Emery's first team squad in that Manchester City opener in the Premier League. Smith Rowe, Nelson running nicely there. Here is Reece Nelson, left-footed, bends one in. Aubameyang, so hungry for the ball, keeps it in play. Joe Willock, another rising young star with first team experience now, as well as burgeoning youth team experience. Neil Smith Rowe, part of the England age group team that of course won the Junior World Cup effectively last summer. Wood now just standing off a bit. They're pressing from earlier on, as much on this occasion almost worked, but Maitland-Niles is brought down. They're kind of a bit betwixt and between the opponents, aren't they?
I think they know that they are got to defend in numbers now and just close off those spaces. Early on they were getting caught out too easily. So 2 banks of 4, maybe a bank of 4 and a bank of 5. With just one in Morgan Ferrier.
Luke Gerrard, the Boreham manager, is just standing in front of us with his collared shirt and his glass of water, and he's trying to bark out a few instructions to his team, but it is not easy at this stage. Highly rated boss, as I say, only 32, tipped to go far, and I think he and the rest of this Boreham Wood team will learn a fair bit from today. Can Arsenal get a third? Aubameyang on a hat-trick, tries to clip one through to Lacazette. On that occasion, I guess forgivable in pre-season, not quite on the same wavelength.
He had a long conversation with Reece Nelson there about how they would play that free kick. Doesn't seem to be particularly a refined one from the training ground just yet. Doesn't have been working on set pieces. Thought he might go for goal himself.
Ross with a long punt downfield, dealt with confidently by the Arsenal rearguard, and not quite sure how much we'll necessarily see of them under pressure today, but the Mavropanos-Socrates combination could actually be quite an exciting one, couldn't it?
And presumably they'll communicate in Greek.
Yeah, I wonder how the keeper and full-backs and wing-backs would then deal with that. Interesting. Here's Smith Rowe once more. Also, I think did well just to take that, as Boreham might have struggled to keep it in play. Here is to Boreham, back to Reece Nelson, another player impressed with his first team opportunities last season. Another appeal for a penalty, and this one is a penalty. Really intelligent run as Nelson cut back in for the 1-2. And Femi Nelsamani, one of those Boreham Wood debutants, sold himself very short.
Yeah, it was a bit of a coming together, but Nelson had made the run beyond him, and surprise, surprise, it's Aubameyang who will step up and try and complete that hat-trick.
Just after 15 minutes played, and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is looking for that hat-trick. What a statement so far. The slap of Craig Ross's gloves as he tries to prepare to keep this out. The former Borussia Dortmund man. Record signing, of course, surpassing Lacazette last season. And he get that hat-trick. The answer is emphatically yes into the corner. A rocket of a penalty. It's like Harry Kane at the World Cup for England, right into that top left corner. No chance for Ross. It's a hat-trick for Aubameyang. Boreham Wood 0, Arsenal 3.
Unerring into the top corner. Keeper went the wrong way. Wouldn't have got there anyway, really. It was such venom.
Wow. Very, very impressive stuff so far. Arsenal interlinking and showing some pretty good interplay across the board, but Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang has been the man to finish it all off, and he's looking razor sharp, isn't he, already? And we're only a week or so into July.
Some of the training drills of those Arsenal fans have been watching our output on social media and on Arsenal.com. Been pretty intense. There's been lots of work, so the fitness levels are already pretty high. And as we say, Aubameyang has had a full pre-season, and he's had that bedding in period as well, so I think we're going to see the best of him. We have seen the best of him today.
Kieran Murta at least winning a free kick for Boreham Wood to give them a little bit of a foothold. He's an Antigua and Barbuda international, funnily enough, wearing 10. Looks like he's actually going to take the dead ball delivery as well. A chance to perhaps see how Arsenal's defenders will deal with this one. For the big head of Stevens. Back in by Ricketts. In the end it was Manny Parry, one of the new signings from Dover, their centre-half, who got the head up toward goal.
Yeah, very straightforward for Petr Cech. Interesting to see Socrates leading the team there as they set up for that free kick, organising the back four. I mean, that's something the Arsenal fans pretty much in agreement that we've been crying out for, that kind of leadership, that communicator at the back. And that's certainly what Socrates brings us.
Murta again, this is better. We've seen a lot from Connor Smith so far, the young Irishman, and as he tried to turn there, Smith actually gave the ball away. Here's Aubameyang showing electric pace as he leaves two players in his wake. In the end, he couldn't quite get there ahead of the third. Boreham is just so rapid as well, isn't he? And again, putting Stevens under all sorts of pressure. Now it's Arsenal pressing their opponents and putting them under all kinds of torture. Nelson head-to-head with Tsunami. Boreham would just about keep that one out.
They would be glad to see the back of him at half-time, won't they?
It needs to come on. Nketiah might fancy his chance in the second half in this game. And you know who I'm really looking forward to seeing is Lucas Perez. I actually quite like what I saw of him until he ended up going away back on loan. He's back again at the moment.
Well, we talk about fresh starts and clean slates and all that, and he's still got a couple of years left on his contract here.
Great for Deportivo.
Absolutely, Unai Emery will know a lot about him, and he'll get a chance to prove himself.
Should mention as well, Matteo Guendouzi, the other new signing, Chris. We'll hopefully see him in the second half, but we'll focus on who's on the field for now. They include Emil Smith-Rowe and fellow youngster Jordi Tutu. The two combined to free Lacazette. Just to feed the ball back through to the young left back. Now it's Tom Champion under pressure. Champion, central midfielder in his second season with Boreham Wood. The Barnet man happy to just get the ball away anywhere there.
So as a commentator, how tough has this summer's signings been? All the long names. Have you had to do a fair bit of research for this, Russ?
Do you know what? If Socrates had obviously gone with his full name, or if the club had decided to do it, it would have been a very different story had I had to say it every single time in full. But not so bad given the decision that it's just his first name. Stefan Lichtstein is not too bad. Guendouzi I think I'll grow into, and Lucas Torreira is very dealable with, but Leno, not too bad. Not too bad.
Maybe just Papastathopoulos for the rest of this first half. How about that?
Papastathopoulos alongside Mavropanos, a nice pair, but it's great to have all of these new faces coming in. Of course, it's a season without Jack Wilshere, Santi Cazorla and Mertesacker, with all brilliant things for the club over the years. All will be so fondly remembered, but the 5 in so far. Do you suspect that may be it, or listening to what Unai Emery said, do you think there might be potentially one more if the stars align?
Well, intriguingly, he didn't close the door today. He said a big club like Arsenal doesn't close the door to a big opportunity of one or maybe even two players, but it feels like they've done what they needed to do with the budget they have, and I think they filled the holes that most Arsenal fans would agree needed filling. And I think now the focus will turn to how do we trim this squad in terms of loans and perhaps sales as well. I think that's going to be priority number one, but who knows?
Stan Roebuck and David Hillier were saying in the build-up, it is going to be such a formative season. The better it can start, and I guess the more lean and mean Arsenal can be in a targeted and hungry fashion, with everyone keen to impress. The ramifications could be very positive indeed, but we do not want to get ahead of ourselves as yet. As it is 3-0 in Arsenal's first pre-season friendly under Unai Emery. Only 20-odd minutes played is a pretty promising state of affairs.
What's interesting also, Russ, is that the expectations aren't hugely high. I think no one expects Arsenal to go from 6th to 1st and leapfrog the likes of Manchester City. I think they'll expect an improvement. But you take the new signings, you take the fact that the existing players are looking to impress, looking to make an impression on the new coach and his coaching staff, the young players coming through, players proving themselves all over again. There's the energy, the natural energy that comes from wanting to prove to a new boss that you can do it.
Really good tackle here from Mark Ricketts, the Boreham Wood captain. 9 years at Woking. He's a gnarled, sturdy individual, and Just timed that beautifully and then played the ball back off Boreham to get the goal kick as well. Let me just talk a little bit more about Socrates. Would you say rather than Socrates? Socrates, is
Socrates,
that? Yeah,
yes.
yeah. As we know, 30 from Borussia Dortmund, and a pretty stellar career before that as well. He's played for some strong clubs over the course of his career: AC Milan, Genoa, Werder Bremen, even the 5 shirt. A lot of fans are excited that you need a balance of new signings. You need young talent, you need absolute top world-beating talent, and you need these kind of figures too, don't you?
Absolutely, and Socrates and even Aubameyang and Mkhitaryan in January, older players coming into their early 30s, late 20s, and then this mix of youthful exuberance and talent. And Socrates had a good grounding in Italy as well, would have learned some of the dark arts of defending in Italy. And of course into Germany as well, and he doesn't get bullied. He's very much the man in charge at the back.
We saw that a moment ago. Free kick to Boreham Wood now, but Morgan Ferrier did almost break clear, and to be fair, Socrates was just barely even troubled, was he? Barely broke sweat as he shook the striker off, won the ball back and played it back out wide. Not such a good moment there though, as Arsenal perhaps over elaborate slightly at the back. Boreham would have got a chance for their first goal. Cech makes the initial save, and in the end the follow-up is just wide. By far Boreham Wood's best chance of the game for their new Irish midfielder Connor Smith. Arsenal do well to keep it out in the end.
Well, it was too casual. Socrates was guilty of being too casual on the touchline, and that's where the danger came from. And he took a lucky deflection there to deny Boreham Wood a goal.
Peter Cech, I think, did well as well, to be fair. We just said all the positivity of Socrates and just a little bit lackadaisical. Good header clear.
The interesting stat on Socrates is that he made more tackles last season in Germany than any Arsenal defender did in the Premier League, but also committed more fouls. So right. On a good day he can be very good, on a bad day,
yes, things can maybe compound, shall we say. Just saw a little moment there of something for me that maybe Hector Bellerin struggled with last season is just that positional sense, and as the ball was played over the top, he'd almost been sucked in, was ball watching a little bit, and almost left space for the striker behind to get in.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's one of the gaps that needs to be plugged. We had times last season when the left back and the right back were so far up the pitch when the ball was with the centre back that one bad sloppy pass puts you under immediate pressure, and the central defenders really suffered last season. Now goals against columns suffered as a result.
We're just having a break for drinks because it is such a hot day here in northwest London at Meadow Park, and it gives us a chance to look at all of these goals again. We've seen the blinder. That's the kind of Predators finish, and he's just one of the best penalties you could ever see, quite frankly.
Absolutely. Not a lot of pressure on him today, in fairness, Russ, but as you say, you compared it to Harry Kane at the World Cup, it was that good.
Good turnout here, by the way. 4,050 is the record crowd here at Meadow Lane, which was back in 2001 for an Arsenal Boreham Wood pre-season friendly. Ground's been redone slightly since then, which has actually taken the capacity down a bit because of the seating on the far side. But actually, won't be far off that, I'm pretty confident of saying.
And from our commentary position, we can see Unai Emery chatting to Ainsley Maitland-Niles, Emil Smith-Rowe, getting his message across, very animated, despite the lack of English so far, just getting their positional sense right, communicating their jobs to them. He is an animated presence on the touchline, isn't he?
Most certainly is, and obviously we covered his unveiling media conference a few weeks ago, and he said, hasn't he, that Emery there on the screen, his English has continued to improve, will continue to work hard, but I thought the bravery, when it clearly was not a massively comfortable language for him a few weeks ago, to conduct a large chunk of his media conference in English was a really, really good and a really strong sign.
I think he earned a lot of goodwill for that. And I think anyone could have forgiven him for not doing it for, well, maybe even a season. I mean, Pochettino took his time to settle into that.
Drinks break over. As Arsenal look to reassert their authority in this game after that stunning start from the Aubameyang hat-trick. They have actually, if you're going to be hypercritical, lost their way a bit of late, haven't they?
Got the goals. Boreham would have come back into the game a bit. Slightly casual defending has cost us at times. Maybe there's a bit of fatigue in there too. It is very, very hot here today. We're out sitting pitch side before the game, and it was baking hot. We're under the shade now.
So under the shade the whole game, mate. Don't you worry, I got straight up here.
Have the umbrellas out, I think. But it's very hot out there.
Nelson and Smith Rowe. Back in field as far as Joe Willock. And here's Konstantinos Mavropanos, a really exciting young player. Good defending from Danny Woodward's on the far side. He's actually 34 now, Danny. He had his career at Chelsea, never made a first-team senior appearance. He's been in and around the lower and non-league since. It's a good piece of defending. Don't forget, Mavropanos made his Arsenal debut here, didn't he, in the under-23s game against Manchester United in Premier League 2. So, full circle already for the youngster.
Very strong knowledge from you, Russ.
Certainly because I did the game. Yeah, it's a lot colder than this. I can tell you, I had 3 soups. It's freezing.
Mavropanos, though, looks a real player, doesn't he? He had one blip last season when he got sent off at Leicester, showed a bit of naivety in that game away from home, but really solid at Man United, looks very strong, another powerful centre-back.
Nelson swings in the corner and just overhits it. Socrates feeling he was held by David Stevens, but in all honesty, even if he was slightly, there was just no chance to ever get close to that delivery on that occasion. A lot of people like Mavropanos' combination of power, mobility and sort of reading of the game and skill on the ball. He seems to have a lot of tools if they could be harnessed over the next year or two. Hence he was brought in as such a hot prospect.
Exactly, I think that's where the coaching will step up and help him. And there's a lot of players in that position who you think with a certain guided kind of coaching they could make big strides, and Mavropanos is certainly one of those. And he's learning alongside someone like Socrates who's been there and done it in terms of the experience.
So it's a bit better from Arsenal now. Just seems to have got a little bit more urgency back into their attack over the last couple of minutes. Haven't had a goal for about 15 minutes now. Nelson up against Ilasamni. Here's Maitland-Niles being shackled every inch of the way by skipper Ricketts. Niles as well to just show the poise over the ball to win at least the throw. Joe Willock might have a pop this time. It's 2 shots from distance from Joe Willock, one I think with each foot. Neither's got particularly close to Craig Ross's goal.
Worth a try. Picked up the ball, had some space to run into. Did look up, saw Aubameyang there. Thought better of it. Maybe he would think again if he could do it again, but certainly worth a try from 20 yards out.
Well, cars are parked not too far from that road, so have to be hopefully okay.
There's a couple of houses there, isn't there? Those windows are in great danger.
Let's look from behind the goal at Craig Ross as he prepares to deliver. Aims for a foul on Angelo Balanta. She moved to the UK from Colombia when he was 5. Ended up in the Fulham youth team before playing for QPR. Quite a story for the number 11 for Boreham Wood. Take another look at Manny Parry, one of the new signings. Nelson did well to win that back, as did Socrates. Joe Willock just perhaps guilty of over-embellishing there. Stevens leaves the ball for his keeper. Aubameyang thought about trying to get in behind, but opportunity in truth wasn't quite there. Nice skills from Bayern. Right in front of our vantage point, takes the ball around Ferrier with ease, but Arsenal give the ball away again. And here is Ferrier. Could have gone down, stayed on his feet, fine run. Cech's interception was vital actually, as Balanta was waiting to poke the ball home. Not for the first time, Peter Cech has earned his corner in this game. Now Emil Smith-Rowe with a delightful jink as he takes the ball over the top of the Wood defence. Wonderful through ball. Aubameyang looking for number 4. Oh, caught in two minds. The cross shot. Lacazette waiting, and it was neither in the end.
Yeah, it should have been 4-0. Really should have been 4-0. Smith Rowe did some wonderful work in the build-up to that. And Aubameyang, he could have gone for goal himself, but looked across, saw Lacazette. Tried to be unselfish there, but just had way too much power on that. Just a gentle ball across goal, and Lacazette's there for the tap-in.
I'll look on the positive side of that, Chris, and say it's another sign that Aubameyang is really key for Lacazette to succeed in tandem with him in whatever sphere and guise Unai Emery decides. And he could have gone for number 4, and the fact he decided no, I want Lacazette to get one is a very good sign. And I think back to that game toward the end of last season, where of course Lacazette was on a hat-trick and Aubameyang was on a hat-trick and let Lacazette take the penalty. Absolutely,
I think that's really important, that kind of camaraderie, that spirit. And I remember when Aubameyang signed, there was talk of, well, only one of them can play in that system. But Arsene Wenger proved it, and now Unai Emery is going to prove it that that's not the case.
Lacazette, of course, having had a strong start, then missed time with a knee problem, and I think struggled to be fully fit for a while, but then also ended the season well. So that bodes well that both players finished the season on song. Both have had a full pre-season with Lacazette left out of the France World Cup squad and Gabon not making it. And that combination of events could also be to Arsenal's gain. Here is the aforementioned Aubameyang to Osei Tutu. Slight deflection on the cross, took the power out of it, enabling Stevens to clear. Mavropanos has slipped, he's now beaten by Ferrier. What will Socrates do here? Just stands his ground and cleverly guides the striker back, and Smith Rowe's awareness to know where to stand there was brilliant.
Yeah, really impressive from Smith Rowe.
Aubameyang goes around one player once more. Field to Nelson. Bayern screaming for the ball, he gets it. Here is Lacazette, delays his cross. Will this be number 4? Oh, what a wonderful goal! Reiss Nelson gets onto the score sheet, he's in on the act with number 4. Brilliant play from Lacazette down the right-hand side. A flowing team move, and Arsenal do hit 4 in the first half at Meadow Park. Boreham Wood 0, Arsenal 4.
But it started with Smith Rowe and his intervention on the left. Good defensive work from him. Lacazette made progress down the right, and as we see there, just wonderful technique from Reiss Nelson. The cross was slightly deflected into his path, but so cool to bring it down in his chest. And then the volley into the top corner. That first touch set it up, and the keeper did well to get anything on that.
Yeah, Lacazette's cross took a tiny deflection, which almost helped actually, because it just sat up nicely for Nelson. But to, as you rightly say, Chris, bring the ball down with such a deft, small touch to put it on the plate for the finish was exceptional. Craig Ross got a hand to it. It's the first goal he's even got close to, and that's no fault for him, because I don't think any goalkeeper in the world could have kept any of the 4 shots out so far.
I think that's a fair point. So the assist for Lacazette, not quite the goal for Lacazette that he'd be looking for. But to your point, I think, although we're very proud when our players, as Arsenal fans, go to the World Cup and represent their countries, we're thinking of Arsenal as well, aren't we? And it's nice to know that those players are going to be fresh for next season.
Balanta, who's come into this half in impressive fashion. Cross from Woodwards. Not by Osei Tutu showing his defensive skills this time. Balanta again. Woodwards again. And Socrates. Safety first. Arsenal fans like that. Kind of reminiscent of the old days with Bold, Keown Adams and co.
A Greek Bolden Adams.
Wow.
Yeah, he's been.
That would be.
He has been, as we said earlier on, he's been uncompromising. He has been casual a couple of times, but he wins those headers very powerfully, brings the ball down well out the back. I think a couple of times we've been caught having won the ball at the back.
Strong header. And that was a decent effort. It was Tom Champion who rose highest in the midfield with a powerful connection, and Arsenal's defenders didn't really get too close there, did they?
The Champion's just hiding behind Balanta there, but he times his jump perfectly, and that's not far away at all.
Mavropanos, who was the player trying to shackle him, not saying it was necessarily all his fault, because as you say, there was the run from Champion from a little bit deeper in the penalty area. But an example that you can't ball watch, and you've got to make sure you do stick with your man. All over the top. Will this be number 5? Oh, dearie me. I wonder whether Lacazette should have gone for goal himself. Found himself in acres of space. Boreham Wood switching off. Lacazette through and trying to feed Maitland-Niles.
I'm very surprised he didn't go for goal himself, especially as Maitland-Niles didn't have a clear run. He had a couple of players on him. So unselfish play, but didn't bring the 5th goal it should have brought.
Arsenal was guilty of trying to walk that one into the net. I wonder if they were just so surprised to win the ball back so easily in such a dangerous position of the field.
A couple of defenders guilty of not pushing up quick enough, and Lacazette was in acres of space and onside on the other side of the pitch. That's where he got the room from.
Socrates up against Ferrier again. Smith Rowe trying to break up play. Doesn't quite do so on this occasion. Here come Boreham Wood. Another decent delivery. A couple of times now that Boreham Wood defenders have snuck between Arsenal players and Femi El-Assami this time. Probably should have done better with the finish, but not a million miles away.
This is encouraging, though, to see these mistakes now right in front of him. Unai Emery is going to be thinking, well, this is something I'm going to be working on, I am working on, and the coaching staff as well. These are the problems we've had for many, many years, just that slight soft centre, training the defence, working better off the ball as a team. And there's certainly lessons here. There's been some good stuff going forward. There's been a few issues at the back that they'll be keen to address.
Crunching tackle and a perfectly fair one from Stevens to dispossess Maitland-Niles. He didn't like that. He was charging back himself to try and win the ball back, didn't do so. Here is Ferrier up against Socrates. He's still going, is Ferrier. That could have easily been a goal as well. Just ended up splitting Murta and Balanta, did Morgan Ferrier. But it's end-to-end because here come Arsenal on the counter-attack. Aubameyang to Lacazette. Surely Lacazette will go himself this time and score with effortless ease. And Alexandre Lacazette is up and running for the new season as well. It's 5 for the Gunners under Unai Emery in his first game in charge. The sweeping counter-attack finished brilliantly. Boreham Wood 0, Arsenal 5.
Very calm, very cool finish from Lacazette. And incredibly, it could have been a goal for a number 9 at one end, with Ferrier giving a problem to Socrates, but it's a number 9 goal at the other end. Unselfish play again, this time from Aubameyang. And Lacazette, the low finish, he was never going to miss that.
We mentioned how he finished last season in fine form after the injury niggles as he began it, and hopefully we'll see a full season where he can keep it up and not have to have too much time on the sidelines and then time back as a result.
That's right, and it was tough for him around about early springtime, late winter time, because Aubameyang was flying and he wasn't quite fit enough, and it's those fine margins as a striker where you can't make that burst that really do affect you, and if your game is 5% off, you're just not the player you should be.
Couldn't agree more, particularly with the pace that a team like Arsenal play at and the pace of a league like the Premier League. Offside, a call against Ferrier in the end. It's a good crunching tackle from Boreham Wood again, that temporarily freed the home team.
You have to say Ferrier's been the biggest threat for Boreham Wood, given Socrates a few problems. He's been drifting off to the left as well, getting in behind Hector Bellerin, stopping him making those runs forward, or at least exposing him when he does. So Boreham Wood have played with some credit, even though they are 5 goals down.
Yeah, Morgan Ferrier re-signed from Dagenham and Redbridge. He was sold to them 2 seasons ago and bought back last season, and not having struggled in between either. I think it's a sign of intent that Boreham Wood want the very best available at their level, and bringing Ferrier back in, I think it's just a little example of that. I mentioned he scored both of their pre-season goals so far. I suspect he might get a fair few in the National League in the months that lie ahead. Here he is once more. Good work from Ferrier. A dearth of options. In the end, all he could do is kind of cross into a blind alley.
He's having a proper tussle with Socrates as well. They are going head to head every couple of minutes, and in fairness to Ferrier, he's come out on top in the last 5-10 minutes.
One of the various intriguing dynamics here on Arsenal.com of this first pre-season friendly. And the first game, of course, of the Unai Emery tenure. It would have certainly taken 5 goals from Arsenal Team A in the first 45 minutes. Those 3 from Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, 1 from Reiss Nelson, and 1 from Alexandre Lacazette. Will there be one more in the next 3 or 4 minutes before Arsenal B take to the field? Great ball over the top. Will this be a sixth? Lacazette just a shade away. Good vision. Great if this Arsenal team could attack from deep as a real potent option, just to mix up their attacking potential in a game at the higher level as well.
I think you're right. When teams do defend in numbers against us, sometimes that long diagonal, using Aubameyang's pace, Lacazette's pace over the top, can be a real big asset for us. I don't think we did it enough in the last couple of years, but certainly a weapon we should use.
Here's Socrates. Delightful ball from Nelson to Maitland-Niles. Cuts inside his man. Nelson gets there. Will it fall for Lacazette? It nearly does. It's almost a comedy moment as players tumble left, right and centre. And it just wouldn't sit for either Maitland-Niles or Lacazette. Arsenal are denied a sixth, just. And they come again, Smith Rowe. To Reece Nelson. Smith Rowe wants it again. Just ticking down to the end of this first half.
I have to say, Russ, if Reece Nelson does that in the Premier League and tries to pass when he's 6 yards out in front of goal, I think Unai might be on his back.
Unai's just come off his touchline and is barking some instructions out. He wants one more before half-time. He doesn't want to sort of slightly flat end to the half. He's shouting, go, 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 to our left. And Lacazette obliges. Here's hat-trick hero Aubameyang. Emery with a beady-eyed glare to our left. He wants one more, as I say. Asay Tutu's cross.
I say Tutu's had a interesting first half. He's, as we said at the start, he's a right back normally, so he's on his weaker left foot, but he's got up and supported the attack well.
Something that, of course, Maitland-Niles was made to do for a fair chunk of last season at times in more of the wing-back berth than the traditional left-back role, but it isn't always easy, particularly if you're a young multi-skilled player, being told to perform in something that's pretty alien to you.
It's good to see Maitland-Niles where he wants to be in central midfield, and I think one of the standout quotes from me from Emery in his welcome press conference was how he has that dossier on the young players like Maitland-Niles. He came into this job knowing so much about these players, and he's working well with them.
7 trophies during his time at Paris Saint-Germain. 3, of course, in terms of back-to-back Europa Leagues for Unai Emery. What will his Arsenal tenure hold? And what we can tell you on Arsenal.com is it started very well here at Meadow Lane. It's Boreham Wood 0, Arsenal 5. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang with a hat-trick. Goals as well for Reece Nelson and for Alexandre Lacazette. Chris Harris of Arsenal.com. Just your final thoughts on the first half, summing up, and also what we can now expect with probably a totally new team in the second.
Yeah, Arsenal looked very, very slick going forward. Aubameyang was electric. 3 goals that no keeper in the world would have stopped. Good to see Lacazette get one as well, and Reece Nelson maybe even with the pick of the bunch with that control and volley into the top corner. A few concerns at the back. I think Socrates made some good winning headers, good challenges, but a few holes were appearing, and Boreham Wood can count themselves unlucky not to be on the score sheet.
Chris, thank you very much indeed. Plenty more from Chris Harris and myself, Russell Hargreaves, in a few minutes here on Arsenal.com. But at half-time, we hand you back to Dan Roebuck and to David Hillier.
Well, welcome back. It's 5-0 at half-time. Arsenal in complete control against Boreham Wood, and we've got the hat-trick hero with us as well. Oba, fantastic hat-trick, especially the first one. You must be pleased with that.
Yeah, I'm really, really happy. I think today the important was the work of the team, and we had a great work in the first half. So, yeah, really happy, and everybody played well, so that's good.
Yeah, from a tactical point of view, Oba, the team seems to be holding a really good defensive solid shape. No one really coming out of it, no overlapping. Is the manager kind of leaving the forward stuff to the forwards? You know, the defenders do the defending, the forwards go and win the game for the team?
Yeah, I think that's the plan, and of course we try to do a good pressing, but everybody knows what they have to do, so that's important, and the coach is is doing well on this 2 weeks. We're working hard and we try to improve every day.
Oba, thanks for joining us. So far, so good. We'll see you over the course of pre-season and hopefully for a successful year at Arsenal.
Thank you very much.
Good luck, my friend. Have a great season.
Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, 3 goals against Boreham Wood. The first was obviously the pick, wasn't it, David?
Yeah, and you know, to be seeing goals like that from outside of the box. We've normally seen Arsenal try and play football, get it all the way until it's a really clear opportunity. So that just shows to show you the managers, like we said before the game, he's saying to players, go out there and show me what you've got. Oba's got that in the locker. Good pacey play as well from Lacazette in that first half. Thought he really made things happen up front, showed a lot of discipline in his playing straight down the centre. But like the question I asked Oba was, they do seem very structured at the back. So for me, it's a great start. You're defensive. It's a good platform to build from, and your forwards go and win it. And at 5-0, they're cruising today.
Yes. What's different than at the back then, tactically?
I just think the decisions are making. We looked a couple of times at Hector Bellerin, for instance, when the ball was on the left-hand side. Hector Bellerin was tucking himself round the side of the 2 central defenders, being that extra player. I think last season we may have seen him pushing into space that was open in front of him, but that's creating a defensive, structured, disciplined environment for the players to play in. And I think that's important because we saw a lot of mistakes last year when we kind of self-deployed and stepped out of that. So it's good to see that he's getting that back in the team. We saw a good performance from Alex Lacazette as well. He was involved in most of the goals and scored one himself. It's not really a partnership, it's more of a 4-with-3. It's very fluent. Reece Nelson getting on the score sheet as well. Is it a 4-3-3, do you think? It did kind of look like that, didn't it? I think the initially it's not supposed to be a 4-3-3, but I think because Boreham would have backing off so much, the defensive midfielders is allowed to go forward and make up 3 across that middle. But certainly I was impressed with Smith Rowe as well, his pace. So yeah, that bodes well. Saw him in the FA Youth Cup final as well, which unfortunately they lost, but a very, very impressive talent for the future.
Interesting that you pointed out and spotted that Unai Emery was talking to the young players in the hydration probation break. He knows that he's got to get instructions across to them more than anyone else. He's been animated, he's been good so far, the boss. If you missed his first press conference pre-season, here are his best bits from earlier this week.
I'm very happy with him. For me, every day, every training session, he's with the ambition I want. He's working with a quality, with speed, competitive I want. It's for that I want to work with him. My opinion, also this opinion, I said to them, Ivan, Raúl, Sven, I think is one important player for me. And my idea is know every players and to know also the personality of the players. And then I think my first idea is to give five captain in the team, but not at the moment the names, because I think I can and I need to know more. And also, first is Koscielny is the first captain now, and for me also is the respect for that. And then we are looking at, we are looking for who is the player who the personality is the best for also in the dressing room, keep the respect for this player, for find the captain and choose very well the best player for that.
Welcome back. That was Unai Emery with his first press conference for the 18-19 campaign. I was led to believe that he's a bit more jumpy